How does self-assessment system for individual works in Malaysia?
Malaysia adopts the self-assessment system where the taxpayer is responsible for computing one's own chargeable income and tax payable, as well as making payments of any balance of tax due. The amount of tax payable for the year must be self-computed, and the tax return is deemed to be a notice assessment upon its submission. The tax return is submitted not later than 30 April without business income and 30 June with business income. E-filing or online filing of tax returns via the internet is available for those who wish to file their returns using this method. Those who have chosen to file their returns for a year of assessment by way of e-filing will not be issued a tax return from a subsequent years. Individuals whose total income tax is equivalent to the amount deducted under the pay as you earn system can elect not to submit a tax return subject to certain conditions being fulfilled. Tax payment by employees are collected through compulsory deduction from salary. All deductions are made on a pay as you earn basis. If tax deemed assessed on an individual upon the submission of one's return exceed the total amount deducted from the individual salary, the difference must be paid on or before the submission date. Tax for a year of assessment is due and payable on the following dates in the year following that year of assessment: 30 April for individual deriving non-business income and 30 June for those having business income.
What is Form E?
Form E is a declaration report submitted by every employer to inform the IRB on the number of employees and the list of employees' income details every year not later than 31st March. Failure to submit Form E are liable to fine of not less than RM200 or not more than RM20,000 or to imprisonment for a term not exceeding 6 months or to both under the Income Tax Act Section 121B. Form E can be submitted through e-filing, the application that allows user to file the tax return form electronically at any time from any location. The due date for e-filing will be 30 April every year.
As a first-timer, how do we register as taxpayers, and what is the responsibilities as an employee?
Now let us move on to how to register for the first time as a taxpayer. The first step in becoming a taxpayer is to visit LHDN's e-Daftar website. You will need to upload a digital copy of your IC and completing the form. You will need to wait about 3 days as the LHDN processes and approves your application. You can also visit the LHDN office to register if you prefer. The second step is get a PIN for e-filing registration. To obtain this, you can choose either to walk into the nearest LHDN office or apply for it via the LHDN customer feedback website. The third step is log into e-filing and complete first-time login. There will be a text box for you to enter your PIN number which you just received and IC number, and you will be directed to another form. Here comes the last step, which is to file your taxes. Congratulations! You have successfully registered as a taxpayer, created an account for e-filing and completed the first-time login procedure.
Do you know what happens when an employee decides to resign?
No. Please tell me more about it.
What is cessation of employment? The cessation of employment includes resignation, retirement, or death of an employee. What should an employee do? An employee may elect to end their employment at any time by either resigning or retiring. Employees are encouraged to provide as much notice as possible of their resignation or retirement to assist the workplace in workforce planning. What about the employer? The employer is required to notify the IRB using Form CP22A for the private sector or Form CP22B for the public sector as follows. First, the cessation of employment, which is not later than 30 days before the cessation of employment. Second, death of an employee, which is not more than 30 days after being informed of the death of the employee. However, an employer is no longer required to give written notice of cessation of the employment in the following instances. First, where the income of the employee is subject to MTD, Or the second one, where the monthly income of the employee is below the minimum amount subject to the MT, provided that in both instances, it is known to the employer that the employee is not retiring from any employment permanently.